Sometimes the biggest stories are hidden in plain sight. What if I told you we could understand a country's entire game plan just by looking at a handful of days? Sounds kind of out there, right? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're diving into just 1 week in India to see how a few key events tell a massive story about a nation on the move.
So the big question is, how does that even work? How can a few days in October really tell us anything meaningful about a nation's priorities? Well, we're going to connect the dots between some events that, on the surface, look totally unrelated. Think of it as our special lens to watch a country's grand strategy play out, right here and now.
Okay, so as we look at this week, a pattern starts to show up. It really boils down to three big themes. First, celebrating national pride. Second, really pushing for progress at home. And third, building stronger partnerships around the world. Let's jump in and see how it all connects.
All right, first up, national pride. Let's start with those moments that really get a country buzzing, the ones that bring everyone together. And for that, we're heading straight to the world of sports, where something pretty amazing happened.
18, that's the number, and it's a big one. This is the total number of medals India brought home from the 2025 World Para-Athletics Championships. What's even cooler, they pulled this off on their own turf, with New Delhi hosting the whole thing for the very first time. That's huge.
And let's look at what that 18 is made of. We're talking 6 gold, 7 silver, and 5 bronze medals. I mean, wow. This isn't just their best performance ever. It's a real statement to the world. It landed them a top 10 spot globally and basically put everyone on notice that India is a serious contender in para-athletics.
Now, that feeling of national pride wasn't just on the athletic field. During the very same week, people were looking up to the skies. Why? To celebrate 93 years of the Indian Air Force, a huge symbol of the country's service and valor.
And just look at this journey. I mean, think about it. It started back in 1932 with just 4 little biplanes and 6 officers. Fast forward to today, and it's this massive modern force. So when the whole country celebrated on October 8th, it wasn't just about blowing out candles on a cake. It was a real tribute to an incredible story of growth. Okay, so all this pride, this good feeling, it's great. But what do you do with it? Well, it acts like fuel. So for our next section, let's look at how that energy is being used to drive real progress at home, building an India that's stronger, greener, and ready for what's next.
Check out this number, 60,000 crore rupees. To put that in perspective for you, that's about $7 billion US. That is a serious chunk of change. And it's all being poured into a new scheme called PM Setu, which kicked off on October 4th. The goal? To totally reboot 1,000 industrial training institutes all across the country.
And this isn't just about new buildings or fancy equipment. No, this is a huge bet on people. The whole point of the scheme is to train young people for the jobs of the future. We're talking AI, robotics, green energy, automation, all the stuff that's going to define the next few decades. But, building a future-proof workforce isn't just about new tech. It's about making sure everyone has a seat at the table. And that brings us to this powerful idea. Nari Shakti se Rashtra Shakti. It basically means from women's power to national power. And this wasn't just a slogan, it was the driving force behind another really cool initiative this week.
So, how do you turn that vision into reality? Well, on October 5th in Chhattisgarh, Coal India did something pretty groundbreaking. They opened their first ever central store unit run completely by women. You've got a team of 8 women officers in charge of a major industrial hub. That's a huge step for women's leadership, especially in an industry like this.
And building for the future isn't just about industry and skills, right? It's also about the environment. On that same day, October 5th, the focus shifted to sustainability. Rajasthan opened its very first Namo Biodiversity Park. This is a big deal for protecting the local Aravalli ecosystem and, just as importantly, bringing more green space into the city.
So you see this pattern, right? Pride fuels progress at home. But that's not where the story ends. All that internal momentum gets projected outward, onto the world stage. And that brings us to our third and final theme for the week, strengthening global partnerships.
Let's head out to sea. On October 5th, Exercise Konkan kicked off. Now, this isn't just a practice run. It's a full-on naval exercise with the United Kingdom's Royal Navy. The whole point is to make sure they can work together seamlessly when it comes to really important stuff like maritime security.
But here's the really interesting part. This drill isn't just a one-off thing.
It's actually a key piece of a much bigger puzzle called the India-UK Vision 2035. So what looks like a simple military exercise is really part of a long-term plan to build a deep strategic partnership between the two countries.
Meanwhile, at the exact same time these ships were out on the ocean, a completely different kind of partnership was being built. Thousands of miles away in Barbados, diplomats and parliamentarians were gathering for the 68th Commonwealth Parliamentarian Conference. And the theme says it all: the Commonwealth, a global partner.
And India wasn't just a passive observer here. They sent a high-level team led by the Lok Sabha speaker, and they were right in the middle of the big conversations. We're talking democracy, sustainable development, digital access. It really shows their commitment to working with other nations to tackle these huge global challenges.
So let's just step back for a second. We've talked about a medal ceremony, a new skills program, a naval exercise, a conference. By themselves, they're just random news stories, right? But when you put them all together from this one week, you suddenly see the bigger picture. It's a clear story of a nation firing on all cylinders, building pride at home, driving progress for its people, and strengthening partnerships across the globe.
Really, this 1 week gives us an incredible snapshot of a country that's not just sitting back and waiting for the future to happen. It's actively out there building it, piece by piece. And it leaves you wondering, right? If this is what can happen in just 7 days, what does the next chapter even look like?